Today is Wednesday, May 28th. We'll tell you about an uncertain future for international students as the Trump administration puts all visa applications on hold. Also, which reality TV stars got a pardon from President Trump, and why the CDC is no longer recommending COVID shots for some Americans. Plus, a new law that pits one of the most populous states against the nation's biggest tech giants. How much Southwest Airlines is now charging for checked bags starting today. And what movies are helping theaters break records as we kick off the season of summer blockbusters. Those stories and even more news coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. The U.S. is no longer scheduling any new student visa interviews, at least not for now. They're on pause while the Trump administration prepares new measures to vet applicants' social media accounts. But this comes during the busy season for international students looking to come to the U.S. Most received acceptances from American universities already in the spring and now have to get their visas before the new school year begins in the fall. Once the new measures do go into effect, it will probably make the process last longer, since officials will have to look into applicants' posts, shares, and comments across platforms like Instagram, X, and TikTok. And in the end, more students are expected to be excluded. Already, the Trump administration tried to keep Harvard University from enrolling international students. A judge put that order on hold. Now the White House is ramping up the heat on Harvard even more. Reports say it's telling all federal agencies to end contracts totaling about $100 million. And with that, the government's last remaining ties with Harvard will be cut. Already since last month, the Trump administration has frozen about $3.2 billion in grants and contracts with Harvard. President Trump accuses the university of having a liberal bias and of allowing anti-Semitic behavior on campus. But Harvard argues the Trump administration is stepping on its First Amendment rights and it's fighting the cuts in court. To be continued. President Trump has lost a series of court battles over his attempts to crack down on elite law firms. Most recently, a judge struck down the executive order that tries to punish WilmerHale. The firm has ties to former special counsel Robert Mueller, and it's one of just several firms President Trump says have wronged him or have done work for his political opponents. So as he did with others, he tried to restrict WilmerHale's access and security clearances, saying it acted in a way that was detrimental to American interests. Well, yesterday, a federal judge ruled that order is unconstitutional. Judges have already rejected similar orders directed at Perkins Coie and Jenner and Block. But in many cases, the damage has already been done, with clients deciding to take their business elsewhere. Other firms decided to avoid Trump's retribution by agreeing to take on some pro bono legal work on behalf of causes of President Trump favors. And now Trump says he may want more from them, like they may have to do personal or political work for him. So stay tuned. President Trump has decided to grant some more high-profile pardons. For example, he decided to pardon reality TV stars Todd and Julie Chrisley. They're best known for their show Chrisley Knows Best, but were found guilty of tax evasion and defrauding banks out of more than $36 million in loans. Their daughter is a podcaster and social media influencer who campaigned for Trump. And when she was interviewed by Trump's daughter-in-law on Fox News earlier this month, she claimed her parents had been prosecuted for their political beliefs. Todd Chrisley is serving 12 years in prison. Julie Chrisley is serving 7. But Trump says he hopes he can get them released by today. Separately, President Trump pardoned Paul Walsack. He's a former nursing home executive who pleaded guilty to tax crimes. His mother raised millions of dollars for President Trump's campaigns and pushed to publicize the diary of President Biden's daughter during the 2020 election cycle. In his pardon application, Walsack said his criminal prosecution was motivated more by his mother's efforts for Trump than by his own crimes. He was sentenced to 18 months in prison, which he no longer has to serve. The federal government has officially removed COVID-19 vaccines from the list of shots recommended for healthy children and pregnant women. The decision makes it tougher for kids and pregnant people to actually get the shots because insurance companies will likely no longer pay for them. The new FDA commissioner said there's just no evidence healthy kids need the shots today, and Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says he's following the data. But the decision was made without the usual input from independent outside advisors. And some health experts, like those from the American Academy of Pediatrics, say they're disappointed in the decision. They point out how even though most children don't tend to get seriously sick from COVID, some still do. And pregnant women and their unborn babies are at high risk for serious complications. This comes just about a week after the Trump administration announced another change that could impact the next round of boosters. Remember, the government is now requiring extra testing for the vaccines to be approved for anyone other than people at high risk for COVID-19. SpaceX launched its Starship rocket, the most powerful rocket ever built, on its 9th test flight yesterday. And the actual launch was smooth. But there were some issues once it got into orbit. The rocket spun out of control about halfway through the flight without achieving some of its most important testing goals. Still, it was able to fly beyond the point of the last 2 attempts that each ended in an explosion. Remember, NASA is planning to eventually use a version of the Starship to take astronauts to the surface of the moon and one day Mars. To get to that point, SpaceX founder Elon Musk says more test launches are coming up. The company will start doing one every 3 to 4 weeks. More news is still coming up, but first, this episode is sponsored by Hiya Health. Whether my kiddo is in an eat anything phase or buttered noodles only phase, I at least know Hiya's best-selling children's vitamins are helping to fill gaps in his diet and support his growing body and brain no matter what. I started giving him Hiya vitamins right when he turned 2, and now at 3.5 years old, he's still loving them as part of his morning routine. So much so that we've also added in Hiya's Kids Probiotic along the way. I love that Hiya is made with 0 sugar, tastes great, and that every batch is third-party tested for heavy metals, so I know they're safe and nutritious. And if you're tired of battling with your kids to eat their greens, Hiya now has Kids Daily Greens Plus Superfoods, a chocolate-flavored greens powder designed specifically for kids, packed with more than 55 whole food ingredients to support brain power, development, and digestion. Just scoop, shake, and sip with milk or any non-dairy beverage for a delicious and nutritious boost your kids will actually enjoy. We've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you must go to hiyahealth.com/newsworthy. This deal is not available on their regular website. So go to hiyahealth.com/newsworthy and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. Now back to the news. The Kilauea volcano erupted on Hawaii's Big Island this week, shooting lava fountains more than 1,000 feet into the sky. The sky turned into shades of orange and red, and a massive plume of ash and other volcanic material shot nearly a mile into the air. While obviously this can be dangerous, authorities say this eruption is not life-threatening because of where it's happening, in a closed area of Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. No one has had to evacuate their homes. Still, people nearby are being told to watch out for volcanic smog and strands of volcanic glass that float through the air. The Kilauea volcano is already considered one of the most active volcanoes in the world. In fact, this was the 23rd episode in a series of eruptions that began last December. Scientists say there might be another eruption soon. Texas is now the largest state to regulate what kids and teenagers do online. Governor Greg Abbott signed a bill that says Apple and Google will have to verify the age of users in their app stores before they can download most apps or make in-app purchases. Social media companies like Meta, Snap, and X support it, saying it makes sense for app stores to shoulder the responsibility, so ages only have to be confirmed once, not within each individual app. But the bill drew sharp criticism from Google and Apple, who say it's a privacy issue. They don't want to have to ask users to hand over sensitive data by uploading something like a driver's license or passport. In fact, Apple CEO Tim Cook called Governor Abbott directly about it. Abbott signed it anyway, saying it gives parents the ability to control what their kids can access. The law goes into effect at the start of next year. A similar age verification measure already passed in Utah and has been proposed in at least 9 other states. U.S. lawmakers have also introduced a bill on the federal level. Starting today, Southwest Airlines will charge for checked bags. It will cost customers $35 for their first bag and $45 for a second. That is, unless they have the airline's credit card or elite status. Though to be clear, this applies to any trips booked or changed as of today. So if you already have tickets for your next trip, you'll still get 2 free checked bags. You'll remember Southwest announced the change in March, but at the time it didn't specify how much it would actually cost. Now we know the new fees are similar to what Southwest's rivals charge. Last year, U.S. Airlines brought in more than $7 billion in revenue just from checked bags. By the way, Southwest is not the only airline making changes. This week, United also announced that starting next week, all passengers will have to be checked in for their domestic flights a little earlier. The cutoff will be 15 minutes earlier, so it's 45 minutes before the departure time, the same as most other airlines. For international flights, the cutoff is still an hour before departure time. Though keep in mind, TSA suggests travelers get to the airport even sooner, like a minimum of 2 hours before a domestic flight and 3 hours before an international one. Movie theaters are celebrating a record-breaking Memorial Day weekend. The new live-action Lilo & Stitch movie brought in about $183 million in its opening weekend in the U.S. and Canada. That set the record for the biggest Memorial Day weekend opener ever. In second place, the final Mission Impossible movie brought in another $77 million domestically. Both are considered to be huge successes. And with that, shares of AMC and Cinemark got a boost on the stock market yesterday. They also both reported record ticket revenue and record concession sales over the holiday weekend. And their rally is not expected to end here. Analysts say this year's summer releases will have the staying power. Next month's new releases include the John Wick spin-off Ballerina, a Stephen King adaptation called The Life of Chuck, a live-action version of How to Train Your Dragon, and a lot more. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Work Wednesday, when we break down one interesting career or work-related news story every Wednesday. But first, I want to take a moment to talk about our sponsor, OneSkin. I love using OneSkin every single day. First of all, this is a company founded by an all-women team of scientists with PhDs in skin regeneration, stem cell biology, immunology, and bioinformatics. So they clearly know what they're doing. They developed the OS1 peptide. It works at the cellular level to improve key aging biomarkers while reducing the visible signs of aging too, including lines, wrinkles, and sagging skin. Because OneSkin believes the purpose of skincare is not just to improve how you look, but to also optimize your skin's biology. How cool is that? Besides, I love the feel and the effects so far of everything I've tried from OneSkin. So go get their cleanser, moisturizers, sunscreens, and even their new peptide scalp serum, because yes, scalp health is skin health. OneSkin is the world's first skin longevity company. By focusing on the cellular aspects of aging, OneSkin keeps your skin looking and acting younger for longer. And for a limited time, you can try OneSkin with 15% off using the code newsworthy at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with the code newsworthy. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them, so please support my show and tell them we sent you. Give your skin the scientifically proven, gentle care it deserves with OneSkin. Okay, now back to Work Wednesday. There's a work perk that's becoming more common in many American companies, and it's meant to help all the pet parents out there. We're talking about on-demand telehealth for animals. It's not just for tech startups or companies in the pet industry. Now, even some Fortune 500 corporations have started to cover virtual vet consults as part of employee benefits. And many companies say it's a win-win for both their employees and for them, since, as it turns out, happy pets make for happier, more focused workers. In a recent survey of HR professionals, 82% of them said pets play a positive role in employee mental health, and being pet-friendly can improve employee morale. So some businesses are offering other pet-friendly perks as well. For example, companies like Amazon, Google, and Uber allow the occasional bring your pet to work days. Others, like Workday, subsidize shelter pet adoption fees. And those are just a couple examples of this growing trend bringing animal lovers into the workplace. Thank you so much for listening today. We'll be back tomorrow to keep you in the know. Until then, have a great day.